Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Tuesday, January 7th, Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board meeting. Happy 2025 to everybody, first meeting of the year. And we'll look forward to a good meeting tonight and many more in the months ahead. I haven't heard that Sean is going to be here, but we do have a quorum, so we'll proceed to open the meeting. You have before you the agenda for this evening's meeting, which was posted. I have one update to make on that, and that is that the public hearing for Rockledge, which is scheduled as the second public hearing for this evening, will not actually be a public hearing due to the tardiness of notification. We don't fall within the parameters of where we need to be to actually conduct the public hearing. So we will, at the end of the meeting, allow comment to be made, but it will not be part of the official public hearing component of the meeting this evening. But other than that, the agenda stands as posted. You have received Jim's meeting notes. Do you have any comments or questions on those?
No.
Jim has reminded me that he normally is pretty regular on getting these out on a Thursday. I understand that they arrived late in some
I didn't
people's
get them
mailboxes.
until I asked.
Yes. So Jim encourages us, if you haven't seen them by Friday, don't hesitate to send him an email and just say, hey, something go awry, I haven't gotten it. But that being said, are there any comments or questions?
I move we accept.
Motion second, please.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. You have received in draft form the December 16th minutes. Any corrections, additions, comments? Hearing none. May I have a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Correspondence and announcements. Ready? I would offer one small announcement, and that's, for better or worse, I have been reappointed to another term. The planning board and reappointed as chair, so I'm happy to still be here with you. Thank you for your support in the past and going forward in the future.
We're happy to have you.
Well, thank you. So that said, we can move into the new application portion of this evening's meeting. The first new application is that of Joel Perham, 443 Mill Road, site plan review for the abandonment of a micro hydro that was previously approved. Joel?
So what we're at, Joel Hearn, 443 Mill Road, what we're asking the planning board for approval of is to abandon the micro hydro that was in process of being installed, and we want to restore the riverbank to its former condition when possible.
Okay. Jim? I'll ask for your comment first.
Okay, so I did take a look at this. I'm not sure if everyone knows, but there's currently a stop work order, a notice of violation of the property related to the work done. The work that Joe had done was not consistent with the approved site plan that we did, I think it was last year or the year before. And that included the idea of the micro hydro that was going to go into the existing dam that was there, with just a small electrical line running down. The work that was done, this isn't a great copy of the plan, so I have an older one. The micro hydro is going to go down here. Instead, the work that was done, I'm going to put this underground intake in, and then a concrete manhole structure and the outflow that came out and around. And so the proposal now, that was the work order violation. The work done wasn't consistent with the site plan. So Joel's decided that he wants to essentially put this back to the way it was previously, which is the site restoration plan. And Joel, I will ask if you can get us a digital copy that's a little clearer. This one.
We sent that on Friday.
Oh, you did? Okay. So the I couldn't read the notes on the version that I had, they're a little too fuzzy, so we'll get those and I'll take a look at it before the public hearing. The only thing that I saw on the plan that I did notice is that from the pictures we saw in the past, the existing conditions of what was done down in this area, is that a lot of rock was put in here, and that's not really shown on the plan here. The plan shows the topographic lines going back to the way they were. It doesn't really show what may be there. And I'm assuming, Joel, that your plan is to just fill over the existing rock that's been put along the street, right? So typically, we would want to see that on a plan to show that that's what's there for the future. If anyone ever were to come in and wonder why there's all this rock that's under all the dirt. And
just show that we're putting back the rock that was,
a note or something, kind of an outline showing where the rock was put down on the plans here. So you don't show that. It just shows what was essentially the original topographic rock. It's like it's just the original earth.
exactly. So,
Well, what you did, there's an existing condition of stone that's been put down. That you put down here.
we did not put down any stones.
The riprap stone that was put there?
Sorry.
The riprap, the large stones that I saw on the side of it?
Are you talking about,
We have these photos and all this rock is shown. That's not the original condition, right? That was,
those are rocks that were hammered out in the drive, by the way. There was no work ever done in the river itself. So that rock was hammered out, and what we will be doing is putting the rock back in where it's hammered out from.
so all this rock was existing exactly where it is on this picture.
Sorry?
All the rock that's shown here came from right along the stream bank?
Correct.
But it was hammered out.
You had it out, man.
Hammered out.
And you plan to go back in and move all this rock back to where it was?
That's what we're asking the board to allow us to do, to put it back to its original contour condition and
I understand the
soil
contours.
and rock layering, if you will.
But the reality is now we have loose stone under, we now have loose rock, the rock that you hammered out is now going to be loose underneath whatever fill you put on top of it to bring it back. So when we look at it, it will look the same as it did originally, but the reality is this was not this condition before. So the existing condition now is loose rock on the side of the stream bank, where it was not necessarily loose rock before. So all I'm asking, I don't need to make this more complicated than it is, but all I was asking is that on the site plan, a note be added with a little dotted line just saying where the rock was hammered out, to note that that was the area where rock was hammered out. And that what you're doing is putting fill over that loose rock. That's all. It's not the original condition that was there.
And it has a color.
Well,
Do I-
actually, a lot of the rock had been hammered out 130 years ago when the Sibley's put in this hole. Over that. The Sibley's put this dam in 1889, and their original penstock went right at the riverbank, and the rock that we took out was rather minimal, actually, and a lot of it was already loose from soil disturbance and rock disturbance from 100 years ago. So, but we'll put that on the drawing if that's what you need.
So anyway, all I was going to say was typically we would just see a note on there saying this rock was moved and it's there underneath. I don't know that it's a huge deal because we are going back to the original, conditions. Essentially, you're going to fill over the top of it. I think just a quick note on there stating that, the rock had been disturbed is all I was kind of looking for.
Along with native plantings on that topsoil that will be over the rock to harden up, not harden up, but keep the riverbank from eroding.
Anyways, last part, sorry.
We'll put the rock back,
Yep.
put soil back that was there before,
Right.
the original contour,
Mhm.
then we're going to put native plantings on that soil to keep the riverbank from eroding.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was just saying, it seemed like more rock had been moved than was there originally, just asking for a note on the plans, just so that for the future, if anyone goes back and says, what's here, we can say this rock was was moved, it's mechanically changed, whatever, just as a note on the plans, just for
No
future.
material was brought in
I know.
and, or will be brought in. We're just putting everything back the way it was.
Yep, no, I understand that. So that was my one comment on the plans. You know, the note might be nice just to note that that's there. You did note appropriate native vegetation to prevent erosion. It's up to the planning board, but typically we do ask for actual plants that are going to be planted, so we know whether or not the root structure is deep enough, if they're native, or not, if they're going to be invasive. We certainly don't want invasive plants on the stream bank. So we do typically ask for your actual planting plan for that. You know, you do say you're not going to be in the stream bank, and I get that, but the picture does show you're right up against it. So certainly when this work is going on, it's going to be done very, very carefully, right up to the edge of the waterway. And I think those details may be something to consider for the planning board to consider exactly what's going to be done where in terms of that.
Of note, none of the work that was done or will be done is inside a wetland, either town wetland, state wetland, or national wetland.
And a stream buffer.
Yeah, it's
It's-
green edge.
It's within the stream buffer,
Yes,
which
it's
is
within the
considered.
stream buffer, but not in a wetland.
Well, the stream buffer for the town is typically considered a wetland buffer, so you are on a wetland buffer. The work, so the reason we did a wetland permit, the reason we did a wetland permit for the first project that you did, or proposed, I should say, is because the work that you're proposing was essentially just to put the microhydro on the existing dam, and you had talked about the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers nationwide permit number 3 as being used to do the work there as part of, you know, shoring up or whatever, the dam, and we can talk about a little bit of electrical work that was there, that was going through the area. The wetland permit probably should have been discussed at that time, it wasn't, there are reasons for that, but we don't have to discuss it, that's,
Yeah.
at this point in time, I guess what I'm saying is, a note on the plans I think would be good. I think we should have a planting plan saying exactly what you're gonna put where. And I do think you need to just confirm with the DEC, because there are new regulations that took place on January 1st, 2025, that you do not have to get a permit for them. Anything that's within an area, it's a DEC jurisdiction. And they've changed. I don't honestly know exactly what those changes mean yet. I'm trying to figure it
I
out.
know the folks at Region 3 quite well, so I will.
Something in writing would be good for us to make sure that we're not getting on the issues with the DEC.
Any
This needs to change.
correspondence I get from them, I will send to the board or send to Gretchen.
It's in the Gretchen. So that's, I think, just some notes on the plans and some additional information on plantings. and DEC.
Planning board members?
Could you take a look at the photos that were accompanying this?
These,
I'm talking about the so-called before and after photos.
Oh,
that are-
that's it, yep.
That was gonna be one
I'm sorry.
of my. No, that's, you asked the right thing. Where's the before condition? And actually, while Jim is looking, could I just ask, you said that this is the old route of the original Suckley era penstock.
Correct.
I thought the penstock and the powerhouse were on the opposite bank.
It's on the website.
So you have that documentation that shows the,
Yeah, the Wilkstein archivist has the original linen sheets from 1889
Okay.
that show exactly where everything was.
and I thought that was what I had looked at. And also, did you find any remains of the penstock?
It's still there, correct.
Okay.
The cast iron fence that goes through the dam itself is in great shape, but the rolled steel fence stack that went down about 900 feet downstream to get 25 feet of that, it's pretty much corroded and not in good shape.
Did you ever get to Vanderbilt to look at the 32-inch penstock that comes out of Sherwood Park?
I'm working with Forest Service, National Park Service to revitalize that Vanderbilt station. be really interesting. They've got a lot of head there in that field.
Oh, I know, but we can talk later.
Sure. Give me a call.
My question was whether we need some appropriate consultant to help us understand what is the best and proper way to change this. I mean, what's going to happen is fairly dramatic. I guess it's going to be filled first with stone with soil on top. All you need is one sort of flood stage rainfall like we've had in the past to, pretty much wipe that away. So, I mean, there's an engineering company involved here, but did they simply prepare the site plan for you, or are they suggesting how this be done?
Yeah, the flood event that you're concerned about, most of the damage from a flood event would be in front of the dam itself. In fact, during Hurricane Irene, this whole western abutment was washed out, frankly. So what I'm not showing here in this rendering is riprap of about, that's what was there before, so I didn't put it on the plan. We're just going to restore the rock edge of the stream that was already there.
Yeah, but
Because in a flood event, the water backs up upstream of the dam. Most of it held back by the shoulders of the dam itself. And so the water level below the dam doesn't go up as high as you're imagining.
to me, it just seems to be a not obvious thing to do. I would just sure like to hear from somebody who knows how to refurbish a stream edge so that it's safe and, doesn't have any negative impact on the stream, doesn't get washed out. I don't know what sort of consultant that would be. I don't think Eric would be the.
And then the Army Corps Nationwide Permanent 3 has very clear guidelines on how to restore a streamlet, which we will follow.
We could certainly begin by asking the CPL if they have someone to take a look at it. And if they don't have the proper credentials, then they would tell us and we could figure that out. But I would want to see it returned to CPL. Yeah.
What's that?
This is back on December 28th, we had done a site visit next door. And if you look at the left side of that picture, the stream was actually overflowing and washing that out, which is further, I think, makes your point, Edna. It's a video.
Oh,
Can you see it?
you took the video on this site?
Welcome, and he was doing his site visit at the neighbor's property.
Oh,
I believe that's what you said.
Yeah. I'm happy to share it.
I'd love to see it.
Okay, I have that CPL, if they have someone who can look at it.
So I think it is important what you're saying, because the washouts are real, especially looking at this video.
Right, that's why I said it's important we know exactly what's going to be done and how, and I said in my memo, we need to be sure all parties understand exactly what we've done and where, and someone has to review that to make sure that it is done properly.
The rock-
Oh, my. Wow, yeah.
Based on not only Sean's video, but just these two comparable pictures, right? Clearly the water goes well beyond the post-restoration image because it goes all the way to that cement barrel coming out.
That's what will be filled in.
So that's what, and maybe that's what Edna's point is about wash away, but it's like, so basically you're just trying to redirect the water back into the way it was, which definitely seems like it needs to be very carefully engineered. I mean, otherwise we're just putting more debris back into the stream. You know, it's like we're rerouting the water, the whole street. I mean, it's a lot.
And this is a stamped professional engineer drawing. Tim has been the engineer for the BARD micro hydro project that my company got approved by FERC and by DEC. So I don't know what to do.
Well, we're going to refer it to our consultant engineer as the next step, I think, here. Other planning board members, other questions? Or?
Joel, is this going to be mostly handwork, or are you going to be getting equipment down there?
Small excavator.
A small excavator, like a cap or backhoe
Yeah.
kind of thing?
And
How are you going to get it down there?
It's very down there.
Equipment's
on
already there?
property.
It's going to be all on your property, not
So it is. The
down
equipment
the
is
Fox
already
Hollow?
there. According to the video.
Well, in this video, there's large equipment already down there.
Already down?
That, granted, is about a year ago,
Okay.
but there's pathways to get down there.
Right, because when I was there a couple of years ago, I recall that there was a lot of disturbance along the stream. It was very muddy, and it just seemed like there were a lot of opportunities for stormwater to wash into the creek and silt things up.
That's why we want to put the stream bank back the way it was, in a way that won't be washed out again ever. And the sooner the better, because rainy season is coming up. So whatever we can do to expedite doing this restoration, I think we'd all appreciate it, and Tony would appreciate it. So just tell me what to do, and I'll do it.
And is there a planting plan also?
No, that's what I
That's what he
had
asked
asked for.
for.
There was a discussion of
Very
appropriate
specific.
plans, but I think we need a more specific plan to show that they are, appropriate for the stream bank.
Types of species, and I'd like to know about number.
Mhm. Well, it's number 3 in Jim's notes. Here, he's specific about a planting plan for the shoreline area of disturbance should be provided by a certified landscape architect or similar licensed professional.
Great.
So I'm assuming that's in your resolution.
It's not, but it would be in the notes that we give to Joel.
Okay. Anything else?
I have a suggestion for the board to consider. So I know that what's on the agenda is for an amended site plan to put it back to what it was before. Previously, I did review the 2021 application, and there was a special use permit granted. I wasn't sure exactly if it was just because it's perhaps on a scenic road. I'm not sure what the special use permit was granted for, but the planning board can revoke a special use permit if there's been changes to what had been approved after a public hearing. Since there will be a public hearing, that might just, since it's being abandoned, that might be a good procedural step to do, just to kind of clean up the ends.
Okay.
I can work with Jim on that, but
Okay.
I have it, yeah, I have that in the,
Okay.
but more on the details, make sure it's right. We do have to rescind those, but the work on this is just to change the site plan itself. The special use permit and the wetlands permit, all that stuff that was done before, still, it's essentially stay in place for them to do the work.
Were there any variances associated with
there were
this?
2 variances that granted. One, they were both for rear yard setback. One was for the generator, and I think one was for a pump. I can't remember, but anyway, they were very specific to this project. I did look to see if they should be rescinded. I can't find any authority for the ZBA to rescind an area variance. Perhaps a rehearing, but I think since they're very specific to the micro hydro dam, we should be okay.
Anything else? All right, Jim, I believe you have a draft procedural resolution.
So for the board's consideration tonight, a draft procedure resolution for the application by Joel Hearn for site plan review under Town Code Chapter 125 to abandon the previously approved microhydro project by rescinding the previous site plan, special use permit, and wetland permit approvals through the site plan amendment that returns the disturbed area near the existing dam to the original or near original condition of 433 Mill Road within the RA10, accepting the application supporting documents as adequate for further review, classifying the action as unlisted, First quarter environmental quality review is not required. We'll schedule the public hearing for the application for February 3rd. We'll send this to the CAB, the WAC, HAPAC as well, because there is a historic element to this. It needs to go to Dutchess County because it is a site plan. I believe that this should go to DEC, just to ensure that we are not having issues with the new jurisdictional determination under the new law. We need 2 planning board members to do a site visit, and we need to refer to CPL.
Tom, Edna, somebody else over here?
Would it make sense to maybe just, how sensitive this is to, once this book to pass around?
Sure. So Tom and Edna will take the lead on this, and when you schedule the appointment, if you would just share the information with anybody else who's interested in attending.
Pretty long.
May I have a motion?
So the,
Motion second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Thank you, Joel, you'll be contacted, and I look forward to being on site.
I'm sorry, this getting referred to the CAD also?
CAD, APAC, DEC,
The entire alphabet?
yeah. Any other acronym we can come up with is like DEC. Okay. All right, the second new application for this evening is that of Portia Bach and Craig Shipler, 26 White Schoolhouse Road, site plan and special use permit for the construction of 2 accessory buildings. Good evening.
Hi, everyone. My name is Beth. So I'm from Bear Architects, here representing Portia and Craig. They own the property at 26 White Schoolhouse Road, where there is an existing 2-story home and some accessory structures already on the site. We had a pre-conference meeting where we discussed how there is an existing horse stable on the site that they had actually been considering renovating into a guest apartment and an art studio. However, because of its location in the wetlands and the flood zone as well, we're now proposing to build 2 new ground-up accessory structures closer to the house and higher up on the site. Yeah, exactly right there. It's kind of an L-shaped 2 new structures, and they total 900 square feet, the 2 together. And so we're applying for a special use permit. And the existing horse stable on the site that we had actually talked about maybe removing it, demolishing it because it's not in great shape. But at the pre-conference meeting, we talked about how the look of it is actually quite nice. It feels historic and it feels like it belongs in the place. And I think, the owners agreed as well. Really, we were just worried about the number of accessory structures on the site. So they've decided we're definitely going to keep that, but we are applying for zoning variance to have 5 accessory structures above the allowable 3. One of those accessory structures is actually the garage that's attached to the house. So just keeping that in mind. And then one is a shed that really can't even be seen from the street or from the front of the house. It's really kind of tucked back on the property. So just looking at this landscape plan here, we have a new bluestone path from the main house to the accessory structures. This is the art studio, and this is the guest suite, which will have a bedroom, full bathroom, and kitchenette. And we're pretty far set back from the street. I think it's about 140 feet back from the street, and we're set back far enough from the side lot lines as well.
Did you have, do we have renderings?
Renderings and pictures as well.
Yeah, these are all the existing photos of where the structures are going to be located. And this is elsewhere in the backyard area. It's an existing bluestone pathway that we're basically intending to continue that same language for the new path to the new structures. So looking from the street view, this is where the structures will be, just off to the right of the main house.
Are there elevations of the new structure?
Yes. So each is a pretty simple volume with a shed roof. We're using board and batten siding, which is the same as what's on the existing horse stable. It's actually a very similar proportion to the horse stable, which is also an L shape. So the idea is to kind of make it feel as though it's part of that kind of language on the site. And we're looking at some large windows as well as solar panels for the roof.
Do you have a color?
We're working on that, thinking something in the realm of the house and the existing stable, maybe somewhere in between. The house is sort of a pale sage green. The barn is a little bit of a darker green, so somewhere in between those.
If you could make that choice before you come back to the public.
Sure.
That would be terrific.
Yeah, we've been working on a rendering. The zoning board actually requested a closer rendering, so we can provide that at the next meeting for you guys as well.
Are those skylights on the roof?
No, those are actually solar panels.
Ah.
Photovoltaics.
Any solar on the main house?
There is no solar on the main house, but there are existing solar panels on the barn, on the horse stable. And those will basically remain as is, and these will be additional panels.
The siding you said is vertical board and batten, is it actual wood?
Wood,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, Jim.
Do internal layouts?
Yes.
Yeah, so the guest suite has the kitchenette along this wall with a window facing the street, and the plan is to have some shrubs here to provide privacy and conceal it from the street. Living area, dining area, and then the full bathroom, bedroom. And then in between is kind of a breezeway with a trellis that hopefully some plants will be able to grow on. So the idea is to kind of connect the two structures visually, but they're not actually connected with an interior space. They will be totally separate in terms of their enclosure. And then this is the studio, the art studio, where the owners would like to primarily be making ceramics, but there will be no firing in this studio. It will be just using a potter's wheel and creating the pottery work. So there's a sink, which will have a special drain on it for sediment, and otherwise there's a floor drain. Otherwise, it's kind of intended to be a big, open, flexible space that they can use.
Where does the sediment go? What's part of the processing? The septic?
It does go to the septic. Yes, there will be a new septic system for this structure. The existing one actually we don't think it has capacity for the additional bedroom. So we're working with the civil engineer on the design of that, so he hasn't put that together yet, but the sediment catcher is something we'll discuss with him. I think it does actually catch some of the sediment before it goes in there and dispose of it. Is that right? Well, we can clarify that.
Sometimes with other studios, we ask specifically about the materials that will be disposed of, and there's probably something you should bring. Have you working with the health department yet?
Not yet, because we don't have the engineered drawings yet, but we will be.
That probably should be something you discuss with them as well.
Okay.
Jim, let's start with you.
Okay, couple of comments, a few questions. So it was noted, and we did discuss in the pre-con, that while the barn was historic, it was an element of the property and has to be preserved. It is going to be preserved, and that is really the reason why you're going to the ZBA, because we did talk about preserving the barn on the site. It kind of was a nice, we felt that it kind of fit into the landscape, and I felt it was a shame to go. It was a picture of it.
Yeah, it's tough to see.
So that's the reason for the ZBA variances to the barn down here. And we will be actually talking about that later tonight, because we have a referral from the ZBA on that. So what is proposed is a one-structure accessory dwelling unit with one bathroom. We did talk about county health being needed, we discussed that. But we did, as you all know, whenever we look at these types of things, we have to decide if a accessory structure being built could be considered to be an accessory dwelling or not. Have you proposed, are you going to propose to the county health department that it's 1 bedroom or potentially 2? Because we had discussed, you know, the planning board needs to decide if the art studio could be considered to be an accessory residential unit. So if you're going with 1, then the board needs to determine that that would not be an accessory residential unit. If you're going with the idea that it would be 2 and sizing the unit, the septic appropriately, then it wouldn't be an issue. So what was the thought on where you're going with the septic in the design?
We would like to move forward with it as 1 bedroom, but, you know, understanding that if the board recommends it to be 2 and it needs to be 2, we would adjust the design. And I think, you know, I haven't gotten feedback from the engineer yet on whether he thinks, you know, if 2 bedroom would for any reason be not feasible. I think there is plenty of space on the site, but that is something that he would, you know, I would want to get him to weigh in on as he does his design work and engineering.
So at this point, then, the planning board will be asked to decide if you thought that the art studio should or should not be considered an accessory dwelling unit. Right now, we're looking at 1 accessory dwelling unit and then just 1 accessory structure.
With the same cars.
Yeah, there's a sink here and some tables. I don't know if you can get into a little bit of the details on the interior of the art studio.
The little squares are just representing a floor, like a rubber mat on the floor for a softer feel standing at those tables, but they're removable. They'll be able to wash them off. Otherwise, it's a polished concrete floor, sheetrock painted walls. There's shelving along the one side of the wall for storage of the ceramics. But those tables and desks are kind of just ancillary furniture that could be moved around. Then where the sink is also a built-in counter with storage cabinets below.
And it will be conditioned space because you have the mini split shown here.
Yes.
One item I did notice with that, though, I didn't see a mini split actually shown for the residents.
The same
this
outdoor
going
unit
to-
would serve both.
This gets are both, okay. And so that pipe would then run along the roof along the trellis or the other one, I assume?
Yes, or it might be able to go underground, I believe.
Yeah, so the board just needs to decide that they're both conditioned units, you know, where you think the second structure would be. So we could, while you're thinking about that, I'll go through my other thoughts. The construction of these, I didn't know if it was going to require, I think we talked about this before, any grading to be done. I think.
Yes, we do
plans are showing a
indicate
little
we've
bit.
added a bit where it will just need to be elevated in
Just
that
this
one
little-
corner.
Just a little bit of grading on the corner there.
Mhm. But otherwise it is quite flat.
Great. Then the only other comment I have is the same comment I'm giving to anyone that's anywhere near water. I think you should check in with the DEC to see if this has any implications. It is a federal wetland that's there, not a DEC wetland, but I'm still, because it's all new, not entirely clear whether or not that's going to change. The DEC is supposed to map all of the new wetlands. They have the old wetlands mapped, but that's just for reference only now, and I have not seen a new set of maps that have come out to show us which ones qualify, so I don't know if they're going to include more or not. So the best bet is just to contact the DEC and see if they are going to require you to get a determination from them or not, just so we can be clear that that's not an issue.
Is there something close to the wetland?
Well, there's a federal wetland running right here.
I know, but is there any object or building that would be?
These are within 336 feet, and the new wetland criteria could be within 800 feet. If you're within a vernal pool, it could be just 200 feet, it depends. We're still working on this and figuring it out.
So what-
It's a significant change.
What would it would be a additional required permit, or would it be not allowed then?
No, I don't know that it wouldn't be allowed, but you'd have to get either a permit or approval in writing from DEC that this can be done. Their distances from their wetlands have been 100 feet, they now increased it to, I believe, 800 feet for wetlands. This is not a DEC wetland, but they are changing categories and how things are done, and I just haven't seen a map to show, so just being cautious, I think the best thing to do is to reach out, and if you say to them, and they say, oh, it's a federal wetland, it's not an issue, then I think you're fine. And if we can just get something in writing, just an email even,
Sure.
saying that that's fine, then we at least check that box, and we know that's not an issue. You know, we don't have to pretend. Again, it's all new, so we're all trying to kind of figure out exactly what it means. But in the old standards, you would be out of the zone, because it was only 100 feet up until January 1st. So that was it for me.
I would consider splitting the mini split systems into two, just because you can't run different temperatures at different spaces, something to consider.
Yeah.
And consult with someone in that space. Just,
Yeah, we'll talk to the contractor about that,
just something to think of.
because, yeah, they'll probably be using the art studio more often
Right,
than
and
the guest suite.
so if you want heating in one, air conditioning in the other, depending on, any reason not to be firing in the current.
Yeah, I just don't want to.
Understood. Okay.
Anything else?
Oh, well, I guess there's the issue of is it a second bedroom or not?
What's the question of could it be?
And could it be, yes. I mean,
It
it's
could
certainly
be.
not set up as an accessory dwelling, but it does have access to septic, and it's conditioned.
And it's conditioned, it has access to water and sewer.
Yeah.
There's a closet or anything?
You do have to go outside though, right? I mean, you have to go outside to go into the other structure.
Correct.
So the bathroom is, I mean, it wouldn't be a convenient place to live. There's
No, but I
bath-
mean, you could retrofit the artist studio in the future. That's the question. It's not what the intent of the applicant has now, but what the next owner might be able to do to convert it into something else.
Yeah.
I mean, they could add on to the septic system or add some new equipment at that time, right?
If they come back before us,
Right.
They
which
should-
doesn't always happen.
The issue has been a lot of conversions that have been done to structures that weren't intended to be residential structures, and then the septic tanks aren't
Right.
sized to take that capacity, and then they kind of create problems.
Well, I think we'd be open to looking into what it would take to do a two-bedroom and, how much more, if it's not a huge cost difference, I think maybe the owners would be
I
open
think
to
maybe
it.
you want to take your guidance at this point from the health department when you have conversations with your engineer and the health department. And really assess what the difference is.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously, for the future, if it isn't an unbearable burden, you're safer and you have more latitude. But I think we're okay with letting that go for further discussion as you're working with the health department and the engineer. So I'm sorry to say this, but the health department may take you a few months. I think they're down-staffed, and I don't know how quickly they'll get an answer to you on any of this, especially if you don't have the design work done yet. So you really are at the
Yeah.
beginning with the health department.
Yeah.
What's the size of the principal residence?
It is 1,700 square feet, or 1,740.
And is that garage finished, or is it just a car garage?
It's, this area here, only about half of that is actually the garage. This area is finished, it's a mudroom
I
and
see.
a bathroom that are
Okay.
attached to a primary bedroom on the first floor. And then a semi-finished garage space.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, we have a procedural resolution. Before we get into it, I'm wondering if you have not yet been, if you're not in the queue at the health department and considering whether we go out 2 months on this, because I don't think you'll be back with all of the questions answered from the health department within 30 days.
Yeah, I think, well, we can't move forward without help. So with them being probably Mark and probably tell us, but at least 2 months out, it's like, that's just the reality that we're stuck with.
Yeah. I mean, we reached out to them and did talk to them a bit about the project early on. We were trying to figure out whether the existing septic system could handle it, so they're aware of it, but I guess we're probably not technically in the queue because we don't have the actual
You don't have to design before.
Yeah.
So I think we'll recommend 2
Okay.
months. Be optimistic. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, draft procedure resolution from the board's consideration for the application by Portia Bach and Craig Shipler for site plan special use permit under Town Code Chapter 125 to construct 2 accessory structures and and there's demolition of a shed at the northern end of the property at 26 White Schoolhouse Road. We didn't talk about that, but there's a small shed up there that wants to take down. I don't think that's an issue. Accept the application supporting documents is adequate for further review. Classifying actions type 2, for which coordinated environmental quality review is not required. Schedule a public hearing for March 3rd. Is that where you want to go? Okay. We will send this to the CAB for review. It'll go to Dutchess County Planning for review. Again, I think you should reach out to DEC just to make sure we're not getting caught up in anything with the new regulations. And then we need 2 planning board members to do a site visit.
I'll go with Sean. May I hear a motion? So moved. Thank you, Sharon. Second. Elise. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Should we be in touch with you to schedule or the owners?
Yes,
We'll be in
well,
touch.
for the site visit, the owners,
Okay,
or either way,
all right.
communicate.
I assume you'll all be there.
Yes.
Okay, we'll be in touch.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Do we need to stay for the ZBA referral, or no, that's just so you guys have it?
It's just,
Okay.
going to get back to them with essentially what we've said tonight and update them
Okay,
on where we
great.
are.
Thank you so much.
The third new application for this evening is that of Scott and Kristen Hutchins, and also includes Lisa Harrow, Mark Shavak, and Omri and Natalie Amit for Highway Road. This is a minor subdivision and lot line adjustment.
Good evening. Mark Kaminsky representing Scott Kristen, Ruby, Arrow, Shavik, and Amit for a proposed lot line alteration. It includes 4 parcels. That 3 of the 4 parcels were previously created by what was known as the Trend subdivision. And the Trend subdivision included, it's shown here on the location map. This is Highway Road, Village of Rhinebeck, water storage tank is located here. And these parcels here were actually part of the original subdivision known as the Trend subdivision. And so this is Burger Road, that's located right here. Here's Highway. Scott and Kristen actually own 2 parcels. It was a subdivision that was done on Burger Road, and this was, I believe it was lot number 1 of that subdivision. They also purchased where the residences, their residence is located right here. They purchased this lot, going like this, for construction of the residence. You can see that, so then there was a lot line, there was a combination of lots. So I just, this was a previous boundary. So now this is all 1 parcel. They also purchased a lot adjoining them, which is everything that's shaded right here. And so this application is to do a lot line alteration with this parcel, which is going to take this piece, and this parcel to the north, which is going to take this piece, and then this parcel to the east, which is going to take that. So this gets combined there. I show a land hook right there. There's this piece right here, and it, there's a land hook. So oh, I'm sorry. This piece is also going to take this narrow strip right here. This piece here is going to be combined with this parcel, and then Hutchins and Ruby are going to combine this with that parcel. And so, Jim, if you could go to the next drawing that I prepared. I took you know that I'm challenged with colors. So, but I tried to find contrasting colors that actually show the final configurations of the property. And then I also did an aerial overlay with it. And, I can certainly go through all the mathematics with the board, but in summary, they're, lots are getting larger. They were conforming to begin with, and they're now conforming. None of the setbacks for the residents, structures on the property require any consideration by the ZBA. So it's just simply, a lot line alteration that, considers these multiple parcels of property. I think that's one of the easiest ones I've done in a long time.
I would agree. I think we would all agree. Jim, is there anything you'd like to say?
I have no issues at all. It's taking an existing lot and subdividing it into other existing lots. We're not adding any lots, so no issues. Like it's-
I think it looks really clean and gets rid of that flagpole and tidies everything up. So I don't know if anybody has any questions at this point.
What should you think of a little more square?
And the colors?
Yeah,
whatever, but
that might be all makes sense for me.
I'll certainly take comments on the colors, always happy.
I like bright green.
I do too. It's my favorite color.
Everything is green or brown.
When it comes to being in a field too much. Anybody else? No, all right. And Jim, you have a draft procedural resolution?
I do for minor subdivision lot line adjustment for Scott, Kristen Hutchins, Lisa Harrow, Mark Shabak, and Amrin Van for subdivision lot line adjustment under Town Code Chapter 101 to adjust the 4 properties, combining them one lot into the other 3. Accept the application supporting documents as adequate for further review, classifying the actions unlisted, for which coordinated environmental water needs not required. We'll schedule the public hearing for February 3rd, 6:05. We will send this to the CAB for review. It actually does not need to go to Dutchess County, take that out, because it's a subdivision. And we need to delegate 2 planning board members to do a subdivision.
How about Elise
I'll go.
and Craig? May I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And the last, the application to be reviewed this evening is that of Ramapo Valley Partners LLC, 65 Bly Road for a minor subdivision. Good evening.
Matt Town from Willingham Town Engineering. Here on behalf of Ramapo Valley Partners, it's Rich Fortunato here. He's the owner of the property. So it's a minor 2-lot subdivision on 39.1 acre parcel in the RC5 zone. Property is currently vacant, wooded, meadow. There's a couple wetlands on the property that have been delineated already. So what Rich wants to do is subdivide into 2 single-family lots. Each lot will have its own septic system well. We've already done soil testing on the site. So we can certainly support septic systems. There's going to be a shared driveway off of Fly Road. It goes through a proposed 40-foot easement. So first about 840 feet, and then it'll split off to separate. Lot 1, that's the larger lot on the right. It's going to be 29.3 acres in size, and then on the left, 10.3 acres in size. So there's over 1 acre disturbance, so we're going to need a general basic speed permit from DEC. Pursuing that. Also, there's a DEC regulated wetland on the other side of Bly Road. So where the driveway entrance comes off, it's actually within the buffer. So we've already made application to the DEC, and we're working through that now. There were a lot of comments at the workshop meeting that we went through, and they're all addressed in the narrative. go through those now. But that's the gist of it.
Okay, so as you noted, there were a number of comments. I'm just going through them really quickly. Some of them I think may bring up some discussion. I think a lot of them have been addressed. One was that we noticed that the driveway is running through an existing stone wall, and as you know, we try and preserve stone walls whenever possible. The applicant has noted that it is going through a significantly deteriorated portion of the stone wall that was specifically chosen due to the poor quality of that portion of the wall, so I think that may be something we're going to want to look at when we do a site visit. We asked for details about tree removal, and they have said that a tree survey will identify any trees over 6 inch DVH that need to be removed. And we talked about driveway grade being 10% or less. The driveway grade is 10% or less. Talked about sight lines for the driveway and reviewed by the town highway department. And it was noted that the town highway department did grant, I guess, their approval or acceptance of this in the past. But you will coordinate with the highway department anyway, just to confirm.
Yeah, so it was originally just going to be one home, and he granted approval for the driveway at that location for one home. We can talk to him again.
It'd be good just to confirm.
Sure.
We're good there. We noted the 100-foot wetland. They've already reached out to DEC, so I think we're good on that side of things. We will need to see a driveway easement or maintenance agreement for the file, and you're aware of that. I did note on the plan sheet, I'm going to zoom in here a bit, on the notes themselves regarding that. You had to note the end of the common driveway maintenance here, kind of showing the line, but it doesn't really cut anything off, say, this driveway here. So it almost seems like this entire driveway from the house all the way down to the road would be part of that common maintenance agreement. I'm assuming somewhere near you want to cut that off, or maybe there's a line I just didn't see. Say this part.
Yeah, if it's not there, it definitely should.
Yeah, so there should be, maybe you can just take that note with another arrow and just note that's where that one will end as well. So I assume the common part is really starting from about this point, going obviously down there. Just want to make sure everybody's clear, who's required to maintain what once the lots are developed. We talked about lots this size need to state that you can reasonably get septic. You've already reached out to the county and did your soil tests, so I think we're good on that. We do have one flag lot and one conforming lot, and you have, the flag lot doesn't appear to meet the required guidelines, so I think we are good there, and notes have been provided on the subdivision sheet regarding those standards. There will be a fee in lieu of park and recreation facilities for the newly created lot that you will have to pay. Those fees are set by the town, so you can deal with that after approval is given. We had noted previously that the home on lot 1 was very close to the stone wall, and you noted that you had moved it back just about 20 feet. There's just concern on my part that if someone comes in the future and wants to, say, put a pool behind the house, if it was 20 feet closer to the stone wall, it just gets awfully close to that, and I don't want to see the stone wall coming down for the purpose of, say, putting in a pool or a swing set or something like that. And it also is right up against the wetland buffer along that stone wall, so moving the house back I think is a good decision. You were asked to provide a phase 1 and 1A, 1B. They have been completed. Nothing was found within the APE, so no issues there. You noted you need to do a SWIP. That's good. That should just go to CPL for a quick review. They do those just to make sure they sign off on that. Talked to DEC, I have another note on that. A conservation subdivision is the default subdivision type by town code, so the board should just discuss and determine that this traditional subdivision type is acceptable. We're just creating one lot, and it is one house on each lot. I don't see an issue with it, but it's something we should just make a determination on as part of the review. And then the only other comment that I had, and this is a technical thing, minor thing, but the scale bar doesn't scale out to anything. It just says the original size in inches. So if you can make that 1 inch is 40 or 50 feet or whatever you want to do, so I can scale that out.
Well, so the scale is actually on the right. That's just, if you print it out, that's 1 inch. So it's just verifying that the plan is printed at scale.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I don't review paper copies of these, because if I did,
Okay.
you guys would have to be another month or two before you be before the board, so they can mail to me and I can look at them. I do it all digitally. So if I can get a physical scale bar that is 1 inch equals 60 over here, that's just a way for me to be able to be more accurate in my reviews when I look at this thing digitally. So just update the scale bar. And then that's it for me. I think we're in pretty good shape overall. Need some paperwork submitted.
Planning board members?
Is there current access to the site, like any kind of farm road or anything like that? Or is it just pretty wooded?
I don't know.
Farm road,
Farm road.
from Bly, there's a, farm road up to where the break in the rock walls.
Okay.
And Jim, you do have a copy of the maintenance agreement.
Right.
You do, okay, it's in the file.
Yeah, I think,
It's already in, because it was done, it's been submitted, it's supposed to be reviewed by your attorney.
yes, no, we do have a copy of it. That's why it said that related to that, though. I just wanted to note on the plan sheet showing that, this was going to be.
Yeah, line, yeah.
Right, the lines.
No problem.
But yeah, we do have a copy of that. I mean, it's.
For you guys to do the site visit, yes, if that's what you're asking, there is a road up
Yeah,
there.
like access.
You can get right where that break in the wall is, when I can show you, which really you want to view of everything on the plan.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else?
The smaller lot was 10.1 or something like that.
10.3,
Okay, how big is the larger lot?
29.3.
Everybody all set? Jim, have a draft procedural resolution?
I do, draft procedure resolution for the board's consideration for the application by Ramapo Valley Partners LLC for subdivision lot line adjusted under Town Code Chapter 101 at 65 Bly Road in the RC 5, accepting the application and supporting documents as adequate for further review, classifying the actions unlisted, for which coordinated environmental quality review is not required, and we'll schedule the public hearing for February 3rd at 6:05. We'll send this to the CAB for review. Again, this does not need to go to Dutchess County, so we'll take that off. This should go to CPL to review the SWIP, and we need 2 planning board members to do a site visit.
I'll go.
Oh, good, please.
Okay. Can I hear a motion? So moved. Second? I think not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That concludes the new application component of this evening's meeting, and we'll move to the public hearings. The first public hearing scheduled for tonight is that of Alexander Wright, 23 Goose Road, site plan, special use permit, and wetland permit, tree removal and light brush clearing. Good evening.
Good evening. Nice to see you. So my name is Micah Baumeister. I am the spouse of Alexander Wright, whose name is listed. I think you hopefully also received the Hudsonia report. We received it on Friday. So Labella, our engineer has been working with us, wasn't able to make it to this meeting on such short notice, but he did review the Hudsonia report, and I have some notes from the review. I don't know if that's the appropriate next step is for me to kind of go through his notes on the report, or if you had notes on the report. I don't know if you haven't had a chance to look at it
Will he be
yourself.
submitting his comments in writing?
Yes, yeah. He submitted them to me and he will submit them in writing as
But
well.
they aren't formally in writing to us yet.
No, I just received them today, actually.
I'd like to hear them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So the current proposal for the remediation of the wetland area was from Labella's plan. It was planting 29 shrubs, 5 different species in the wetland and buffer zone. The location was going to be south of the stream in the southwestern corner of the property that is the wetland area of the area that we cleared due to a solar project that's on hold right now. However, when Hudsonia reviewed it, they felt that they wanted to increase the number of shrubs to 48 instead of 29, and that there was one species that he had some concerns around deer damage, and that was, so he recommends to remove the red osier dogwood. I think I might be mispronouncing that species. And he also suggested, Hudsonia also suggested adding fencing or repellents, but not plastic tree tubes, so just to keep the deer from eating the shrubs. The area that was designated through the delineation as wetland was done by Labella, so I think Eric mentioned, like, he didn't know for sure that, actually, I don't know the exact wording on the report, you could read it, but he said something about, like, we assume that you know where that area is, and it is pretty clearly delineated on our property because they Labella put little pink tags on the area that was wetland, and we have not mowed that area since, we cleared that older area. So it is really clearly delineated right now. So I feel very confident with these kind of adjustments, and Nicholas Van Maas from Labella said he could turn this around really quickly to add these changes to the original plan, meaning adding the 49 shrubs versus 48 versus 29, and replacing the one species that wasn't appropriate, and also indicating where the fencing would go. So those 3 changes, he said he could turn that around very, very quickly, and he's willing to do that.
Anything else you want to say?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, the only new comment I have is the same one you're hearing, we're like broken record. We have these new New York State DEC wetland regulations. You are along a federal wetland, not a DEC wetland, but I do think, just to make sure that we are checking the box, we should reach out to DEC to make sure we don't have any permit requirements now. The new regulations to affect January 1st. So, since I don't have any mapping showing what is or is not considered a DEC wetland officially, I just think reaching out and confirming that you do or don't have the issue would be good.
Well, Bella could do that.
Well, right, well, yeah, so, yeah, then Nicholas can do that. Reach out and just confirm that there are no new considerations on the DEC side. And then hopefully soon we will know exactly what
Unfortunate
this
that we missed the January 1st, because this has been ongoing for a year and a half.
Yeah. But unfortunately, because the project's still in process, hopefully we'll know soon exactly what we're supposed to do. I'm actually going to webinar.
Do you know what the turnaround typically is?
I don't know, yeah. I don't. So,
So we might be here for another year and a half, possibly.
hopefully look at it and they decide, if the federal wetlands don't count, if we just hear the federal wetlands are not going to change, the DC wetlands generally aren't going to change locations, then I think we're fine. I just don't have a map to use to
And
confirm.
does it matter at all, I am not that familiar with these different organizations, that they did speak with the Army Corps, or is that not related to it? Okay. Okay.
So, just reach out and give us something in writing. An email will be fine, just,
Sure.
if they're clear and it's not an issue, we'll just know that. Otherwise, that's it for me at this point.
Okay.
And if Labella has any questions about that request, can he contact you or the board, or how?
We can,
It seems pretty straightforward.
Reach out to Gretchen with any questions,
Okay.
and she'll move them on.
Okay, great.
Planning board members?
The one thing that you didn't mention in your very good review that Eric suggested, he said more extensive shrub planting should be considered for the rest of the infrequently mowed western end of the house yard, part in the buffer zone and part in the wetland. So I think his thought is that part of those 48 shrubs could be in a slightly expanded area.
Yeah, there are, like, there's a perimeter around the area that we could definitely plant some of those shrubs. That makes sense.
Is the solar application part of this, or just separate?
Separate, right?
Yeah, I think we just needed to clear this issue so that the solar can then proceed. Everything's on hold for that.
we wouldn't typically see the solar. It's the wetland issue that brought it to the point in the clearing.
And is there, Nicholas suggested I don't know if this is appropriate given the DEC, but if you were receptive to voting, he thought that we could vote for conditional site plan, the condition being he would address all the comments by Smithsonian and for near future. Is that a possibility?
Without these, so.
No, I couldn't,
It would be best to hear from DEC and I think have that landscape plan in front of you just to make sure everyone's okay. Like, I know I was just talking
like,
about.
so you say Labella is going to respond in writing. I'd like to have that in writing from them, and I'd like to have the planting plan, because I'd like maybe, this is,
Okay.
we read that, what's the, I'm torn, you know, I'd be happy to say 2 weeks out, but I doubt that you're gonna have an answer from us. So I think our best move here is to continue it until the February 3rd meeting and hope that Lobella has some contacts at DEC and we can get some responses for you from them. Is there anybody else who has questions or comments?
I think it's fair to say, like, there's conditional as possible, but without the big road, like right from the torrent. We can't.
That makes sense, yeah.
Okay, Jim?
Thank you.
Anything else? So, may I have a motion to continue the public hearing until? Did you make it?
If you can make it, I'll second.
Okay, all right, there we go. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Thank you. Happy New Year. The second public hearing that was originally scheduled for this evening was that of Rock Ledge, but as I announced at the beginning of the meeting, due to not a timely notification of the public hearing, we were not going to retain the public hearing itself this evening, and I think we were able to get that information out to people. I will, Jim, is there anything you feel we need to be updated on, or?
Well, I sent you a draft part 3. It's about 60 pages. I think it'd be good for the board to take a look at it. Sharon can probably give one comment on any change I need to make, which actually Craig caught me on earlier. Unfortunately, I did not carry through to the part 3. It's mostly the part 2 documents that I gave you. I changed the tense to past tense since the actions have now been taken and added in commentary based on the discussions we had. But take a look if there's anything that catches your eye, is something you want changed or edited, I can do that. And then at some point we can have an official discussion about that. And I don't know, Kim, if you've talked with John about timing and timeline as it relates to ZBA and other things in terms of how we want to.
So I believe at ZBA, it's scheduled for public hearing for January 15th. For their need of variance because you can, with adaptive use, you can have 4 rooms. They're just changing it, instead of 4 and 4, it's going to be 6 and 2, not changing the density. So they're on public hearing on January 15th.
But they can't take action until we approve a seeker.
Yes.
So we do need to figure out the timing.
Yeah, we probably, the first step will probably be, we'll just continue the public hearing until seeker's done.
So were we to schedule, would you be able to get your notifications done if we were to schedule this out for 2 weeks? Is that time-wise working?
It's 10 days.
It's 10 days.
It'll be submitted tomorrow morning.
All right, so shall we do that? Shall we, what is the agenda for? Not bad? Not bad.
Not bad,
Not bad. So why don't we take advantage of that? And that would, means Mark's got to get up early tomorrow and get his work done. That well, it has to be 10 days. That should fit us within the 2-week period, and so we could schedule it for the second meeting in January. Does anybody have any concerns or questions?
No, I think that works.
May I?
Thank you.
So we did, what's the official, are we continuing the public hearing, which we couldn't open tonight?
I would say a motion to schedule the public hearing for January 21st.
Okay. May I hear that motion?
So we'll
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I will say, I know there's a couple of you here, when we complete the agenda items this evening, I'm going to take, if you wish to make some, if you want some procedural questions answered, or if you have some general comments that are not part of the public hearing piece of this, we would allow that to take place, if you're interested. Okay? That then, I believe, brings us to ZBA reports.
So that's,
Okay.
all right.
And then we have a time extension request, and I think we should take a few minutes just to get ourselves wrapped again about comments about workforce housing.
Okay, the first ZBA referral is for Ben Floyd. The applicant is proposing to construct a pool and pool house in front of the principal structure on the property and has requested a variance for replacement. This is a 28-acre flag lot. This is Will Temper Drive, which is right on the southern border of the village. So it's a 28-acre lot. This is upside down L. This is all freshwater wetland back in here, so about a third of the site or more, I would say, is wetland. There is room back in here, but you have to go through the wetland to get to it. The existing house is here. Existing house is here. I believe this is existing septic and approved septic, and so the proposal's for a pool and a pool house in front of the house here because Will Temper Drive is out here. I took a look at the aerial. I can pull it up if you want. This is kind of the cleared area of the lot. All of this back in here is wooded, and then obviously you get close to the wetland, and this is the 100-foot wetland buffer. So there's not a whole lot of, and obviously this is a steeper slope, not a whole lot of room to put this on the site, I think, without putting it in front of the house. If you do take a look at the aerial, which you know, it's probably worth bringing up, it does show that there are houses on adjacent parcels, but they are a pretty good distance away. So it's this parcel here, so you can see the amount of wetland we have. The adjacent house is back here, the pool is proposed kind of up in here, and then on the other site, the house is over here, while the pool is here, so it is something more visible to that house. So I took a look at this. As I said, it has significant constraints with the state and federal wetlands. It is mostly grassy area. It's to the side of adjacent homes, back off the cul-de-sac, a moderate distance from the existing residences on either side. The location doesn't appear to me to be a significant issue, given the size of the lot and the location of neighbors and other existing conditions. The proposed location does reduce the potential for removal of trees. A lot more trees would have to be removed if it was put somewhere else, and then again, it would encroach on that wetland. This board will be reviewing this proposal for site plan and special use permit. And given the new DEC regulations, we believe that the applicant will be required to apply for jurisdictional determination because the blue is the state wetland. So we are definitely within, that 800 feet of the state DEC now, I think. So,
Did you say it had to go to this board for site plan special permit?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, I speak. I was just involved with the engineering.
Right.
So Malcarney presented her, and I was told that it was only going to the ZBA.
Well, this is probably something I should talk to Brian with. Regardless, my recommendation right now is maybe the planning board ask the ZBA to hold off on making any determinations. Because I do think, and I don't know how this is going to work, I don't know how this DEC jurisdictional determination is going to work with a variance request.
I can speak to that.
That would be great. I'm trying to learn on this.
I actually had DEC, so I was involved with the original delineation of the wetland, of the original subdivision, right? And so that's all actually under, like he has an easement on that wetland. So I requested DEC to go out and fly the flag. They did, right? And so that wetland hasn't changed. So I can, so Sarah, I can't pronounce her last name, from DEC, went out and verified and just indicated to, because and so there's, I prepared a site plan and I also prepared plans for the health department because they're connected into the existing septic system with this improvement. And I show 100-foot adjacent area on both. If DEC has verified that, I can send them for signature of that, for that wetland. But that's apparently, and so Now Carney's out, I'm supposed to go to the ZBA for this project with the owner, Floyd, but they said that they spoke to the zoning administrator, it didn't require a planning board, but that, I guess you need to just coordinate that.
Yeah, so I will, and I guess part of my question is, how do these new, I don't give it, how these new DEC regulations are gonna apply when the ZBA is reviewing something that has a wetland next to it. It's not within the 100 feet, but it is within 800 feet, which is the new setbacks for DEC. 800 feet is a long distance. I mean, that's gonna start catching a lot more than it did before. It's gonna need state review. I don't know how the ZBA handles that, so one of the recommendations is gonna be, we need to figure that out, in terms of maybe something that's just a variance. Now, Brian said it doesn't need planning board review. Maybe, I don't remember why I thought it did. Maybe it does not. It's the only,
In my notes, Jim, I
Structure.
don't have it going to the planning board.
right. For
But
some
like
reason,
I
I when I
said, there
reviewed it, I
might
thought
be
that
something I missed.
it would need it, and I don't remember why. But regardless, I think we need to figure out how these DEC regulations are gonna,
So I think I can take care of that,
Okay.
since DEC's been there, so I can
How
just.
recently was that?
In December.
Okay, there it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, because I had Sarah flag 3 wetlands for
Okay, after you.
them. But I'll talk about it later. Another one where it is going to be under new permitting with DEC.
right.
It's actually a dock on the river for asphalt. The Hudson River, because of vegetation there, it's now, the Hudson River is going to be considered a wetland.
And because we don't have the new maps, I don't know if they're gonna start
Yeah, I know.
incorporating some of these federal wetlands
They're
as
secret.
DEC wetlands and classifying things differently, so, yeah. So you don't have to wait. I mean, the ZBA can obviously move forward. You can apply for a variance before something comes to the planning board. So I would say we move forward with the referral as a ZBA referral. And then I will confirm with Brian, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it doesn't need site plan special use
We'll
permit, honestly.
just put a note
can't.
in the referral resolution that, additional information is required from Ryan, and make a note of that.
Yeah, maybe I'll call him tomorrow and just confirm that it isn't, because now, honestly, I can't come up with a good reason why I didn't see it. But at the time, I had one. I don't remember what it was, because I didn't put it in the note.
All right, so
So I guess the question for the board, and this would, is do you have, any concerns about it being located in front of the principal structure, where it is? So would it go back as a referral that the construction raises no significant concerns, or do we have concerns that you would like to raise?
When you were showing the parcel access plan, it almost looked like the driveway from the house goes to this other property,
It's common driveway.
which comes from where?
We'll talk
There's
about
a
the
cul-de-sac right up at the corner.
Comes in here.
And then they have to go around like that to get to a separate house?
That's what it is, yep.
Wow.
that's a funky little
It is.
neighborhood.
Well, with the proper screening, it shouldn't be an issue, and there doesn't seem to be much alternative.
No, I think there's very little alternative, viable alternative. Yeah. Are you okay? So, what's your preference here?
So we'll do the second one, which has a typo, but it would be that we find that the requested project to construct a pool house and pool has no significant planning or environmental concerns. We recommend the ZBA rely upon its own study of the facts and determining the application.
But this is Ben Floyd, right?
Yes, it's not yet, there's a typo.
The barn garage?
Yes, it
is
should say
not
pool,
right.
it should say pool
Okay.
house, I'm sorry.
Jim, are you thinking the pool house might be an accessory dwelling? Perhaps. That's why maybe it would come here.
It might have been.
And, I mean, what is in the pool house? Could it be a?
The pool house is being used as an indoor, as a pool house, but like, it's gonna be heated and everything else because he's also gonna be using it for his office. So, it's
So-
pretty big.
So it could be an accessory dwelling, is that right?
I don't recall how the layout is, but I remember it's meant to be used year round.
Maybe
it have-
move them here.
I specifically had them design it so that it's not an accessory structure, just because it's, so the connection into the, and I have health department approval for connection of the pool house. And so it's designed to utilize the existing septic, but nowhere, no kitchen. It was specifically designed in a way that it's not intended to be an accessory structure at all, as a dwelling unit, just an accessory structure, pool house, that's it.
It does have a full bathroom, right?
Does it have a shower room?
No shower room,
No.
bathroom, yes.
Yes, shower, so, well, by that,
So I think you just,
by that standard, that's the one they apply.
outside.
I think you just keep my brain open, I went back and looked, so we did a
It was only
pre-con on
access
this
from
one.
outside,
This
the
is
office
where it came
space.
from. We did a pre-con on this one just a couple months ago, my brain's fried.
They changed.
Right.
Where we talked about the application at the pre-con, you didn't go to the ZBA for the pool house and equipment shed because the roof structure's in front of the house. And said that given the proposal the pool house is submitted, it's likely the planning board would consider classifying it as an accessory dwelling unit, and that doing so then would require, a different DC health approval for water and SDS. So it was from that pre-con and the discussion of this possibly being used as an accessory dwelling that it would have to come to the planning board. So that was where that comment came from. Thank you. David. It has not been submitted to us, but we did do a pre-con.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to have a kitchen and a living room. I mean, if it's got a shower and a bathroom and it's conditioned and you put a bed in it, then. Right.
So that's why it might come to the planning board. I guess the question is still, the variance for the ZBA is the location. So even if it were to come to the planning board, as long as the location wasn't an issue, we could submit back a referral talking about the location. That wouldn't impact the
Right.
planning board review necessarily.
But we could note in a referral back that this question has been raised and should be taken to, the zoning board should be aware of the fact that we're looking at that.
I have no issue with location.
No, I don't think.
Yeah, I think any other alternative would be much more impactful, probably about the best
So
place
we're
for it.
satisfied with the recommendation number 2.
So,
It's floating with an accessory dwelling.
Right.
so we'll say that if we find that the requested project to locate the pool house and pool in front of the existing home have no significant planning or environmental concerns, we have a question that it may need to go to the planning board for review as what the structure type, but that otherwise the ZBA rely on its own findings for the placement of the structure, because I don't think we're looking at going somewhere else when it comes to it.
Okay.
And I will talk with Brian about this, but yeah.
And we usually have a section in our resolution that says that the granting of the variance doesn't absolve the applicant from reaching others, so we'll specifically mention the possibility of coming back to the planning board.
And have a motion? Second? All those in favor? Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Next ZBA referral is case number 1068, Bach and Schiffler, that we just met with earlier.
Correct. So this one. Back to it.
Get number. Just need a guy. Well, I think we remember it.
Just get the amount of the structure and the size of them overall compared to the existing house, correct?
Right, so they're proposing to construct the 2 accessory structures we talked about. They've applied for 2 variances to permit a total of 5 accessory structures on the property, when only 3 are permitted. They're taking down a shed up in here, but when you take a look at the overall site plan, when they add these 2 in, they would have only had 3, but anyway, they have a shed back here that they're keeping. This is the barn that they wanted to take down, that's actually in the floodplain, that we actually suggested just retain, because it is nice, it's at the edge of the floodplain. So that's 2. You have 3, 4, and then just the way the code is written, the garage, I think, is considered the 5th, if I remember correctly. So,
No issues.
was that?
No
No
issues.
issues.
So if there are no issues on that one, we will find that the project construct accessory structures to exceed the total number. raises no significant planning or environmental concerns. I noted that the barn was originally proposed to be demolished, but during the pre-conference meeting, it was noted that it fits well into the property landscapes. Seemed unfortunate to be removed, and that the variance request is actually needed because the structure is not proposed to be retained. So essentially, they're going forward because of the request made by us.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Case,
I have a question.
yeah,
The garage is attached to the house, so how can we,
it's just the way it
It's
is.
a quirk of the code after the house is built. It's something we have identified that needs to be worked on, and before we change something.
We recognize the problem, we haven't gotten.
Tom, we could all agree that you could be the one to change it.
You can take the lead. Last one for this evening is case 1069 of Osborne.
So this one, the applicant is proposing to expand the existing single-family home to accommodate family when they visit. The additions require side yard setback variances. The changes include a one-story addition to the one-story home, a new screened deck or porch with a new concrete pad. Setback requirement is 50 feet. The applicant has 34 feet 9 inches and thus requires a variance of just over 15 feet. So this is the existing structure today. This is what we're talking about, the house and an existing open deck. And what they're looking to do is to put an addition on here and put the screen porch in the back here. This is the driveway coming in. It comes up along the property here. Based on our review of the plans and aerial imagery, the proposed work is on existing mowed lawn between the house and the existing driveway. But beyond that is an undeveloped lot that appears to be undevelopable as wetlands are in the area adjacent to the proposed addition. There is a tree line along Slate Quarry Road here that really does, I think, appears to do a good job of at least obscuring any additions that would come on there from the road, if not blocking those views. Based on the fact that the area is disturbed and doesn't appear to be highly visible or close to any neighbors, I didn't see any issues with it from that regard regarding the variance. However, the proposal for the screen porch may be within 100 feet of the federal wetland, which would require a proposal to the planning board for a permit from the town. And again, I'm not sure about what the deal might be with federal wetland jurisdictions becoming DEC wetland jurisdictions, so there may or may not be something necessary from the DEC for this. I really just hoping we get clarification on whether they're going to change their wetlands or not soon. So I don't personally see an issue with the variance. There's nothing over here. I can pull up the aerial if you want. It's an undeveloped lot. This is all wetlands over here. So nobody's ever, they're never going to develop in this immediate area. There's a little bit of land here you can develop, and there's some further back here, but nothing really across from the house itself, close proximity. I don't see an issue with the variance request itself of 15 feet. It's more that there are other, you may need a wetland permit from the town, and might need something from DEC.
So would it be number 2 followed by those comments?
Yep. Great. Yes?
Yes.
May I hear a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion, second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstention, thank you. And that takes care of all the ZBA referrals. The last order of business is actually the request from Grassmere House for a time extension.
Yes.
I spoke to Nick Ward-Willis, and the real holdup is still in working out the details with the village on the water district. He still doesn't have everything back, but that's the one that's still in the greatest state of indecision at this point. As you may recall, the village has to create are they creating a whole new district?
I don't know exactly what it's doing, but possibly. They have to change some boundaries and do some things with the state. I'm not sure exactly what that
Right.
is.
So I do know, I've tried to stay in touch with village representatives. I haven't gotten all the information back I was hoping for, but they've been doing some motions to authorize Ty and Bond, their engineers, to work to expand this and to work through. I think
think DEC is doing a full review, and so it's hung up there. And he assures me that it's still on track, and that's really all I know. So I don't see any reason to not give them an extension.
This is like 3 different permits, right? Because we bundled them in all on the same date last time, I think.
Yeah, but this one is just for site plan special use permit because the wetland's still valid for another 2 years, year or two.
Yeah.
He's just asking for 6 months, so I think we would do 6 months for site plan and special use permit, which would get them out to August 12th, 2025. And we did the 6 month, last 6 month review, extension we did was in June. So we'll be extending it from February 12th, 2025 to August 12th, 2025. It's really a paperwork issue and an outside agency issue. This is probably a good time to say this is why we are very careful about conditional approvals. This one was different. It was connected to public water, so that was a different situation. But this is why conditional approvals can sometimes be a problem. So you just don't know what might
I
happen.
don't see any issue. Obviously, there's like a paperwork trail on the village side. There's progress being made.
I believe so. I've been told that they're in agreement as to what the next steps are. But I think I get the sense it's a filing process that they're going through. And I know the village submitted something to DEC. It came back, DEC wanted additional information. They're responding to that. So I think it is the governmental back and forth. Ty and Bond is the village engineers that are working on it. Nick is offered to come to any meeting that we would like him to come to and provide an update. I didn't think we needed that. If you would like in the future to have him present in person and update on the project.
Is it appropriate to reach out to the village and ask for like a guess of when they would?
I have done that.
Okay.
I specifically.
Like is 6 months even realistic, I guess is my question.
I reached out to Rick Lewis, who is the person who's overseeing it for the village, and I actually asked if he would ask Ty and Bond. I thought I'd get a better sense of a timeline for Ty and Bond than a village board member. I asked to have them be in touch with me, and they have not been in touch with me. So I can
Don't doubt your due diligence.
go do my due diligence and ask again.
Okay.
Nick only asked for 6 months, I think. He didn't ask for any more than that, so
Yeah.
I would say there's no need to give a year since he didn't request that. You certainly could at this point, do an extension of the timeline, but that's all the applicant asked.
I'm not an issue.
Is everybody all right with this? May I have a motion to, Jim's probably drafted it here,
Extend it from February 12th.
extending the end date for satisfaction for site plan review conditions special, an additional 6 months from February 12, 2025 to August 12, 2025.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
All right, I'm going to change the order a little bit here and put off anything we want to bring up about workforce housing and comments we may want to be assembling, and open it up for any public comment. Not part of a public hearing, but for any comments from anyone here who came wishing to say something
Well,
about
then I'll have to
Rockledge.
recuse myself.
Yes, you will. But you can go for it.
Just have a clarifying question. But you knew that it was being posted. So,
Would you mind just going just for the camera?
oh, sorry, I thought this was just sort of
Well,
administrative,
Just so we
not a public hearing.
No public hearing, it's still open meeting.
public comment.
Yes.
Okay. Gosh, well, my comments are not that well prepared. I guess, one request from Mark, in addition to the mailing, can you put the physical notice in a more prominent position than the current one? No one would see the public notice on the south driveway where it is unless they were looking for it. I don't know, do you know where it is?
Yeah, I thought I did put it in the location.
No, it's way back from the road and it's kind of obscure.
It's right by the gate.
There is no gate, remember? There is, it is on the chain, but the chain is way, the chain's way back from the road. Honestly, I've been looking for the public notice, and
Fine.
yeah, and it's hard to see. If you can just put it near the road, that would be great. And then we were wondering whether, can we get a copy of your draft part 3
It hasn't been accepted by the board yet.
by the board, but is that likely to happen before?
We're in conversation with the council as to what the timeline's going to be. I think Jim brought that up earlier, so as soon as we know, we'll provide that information to the public.
Okay.
May I ask a follow-up to that? Is there documentation associated with the Part 2 that is available for review?
Well, you were made, all of Jim's documents that were used at all of the meetings are public documents. I believe are they on the website?
That I don't know.
They are not,
Website?
that I can tell. I don't.
Can we add them to the Google Drive?
I think if you want to request, speak to Gretchen about how the best way to obtain copies of those. I mean, they were here at all the meetings, and I do believe that Jim said earlier that the bulk of what's in here you have seen or heard as part of the process that we went through. So what else are you asking about?
So when I reviewed the video, much of the discussion during the Part 2 review that you guys did was pretty unintelligible. So I'm looking to reinforce my understanding of that.
Well, aside from Jim's written reports and the video, we don't have what I would call comprehensive minutes documenting what every person said when.
So how about those written reports that you're mentioning? Are those available for the public to look at?
That's what I'm asking Gretchen to verify and
So I'll
see
ask
the best
Gretchen.
way to get those available to you. Or
Right.
make them available publicly.
Thanks.
Thank you. I think that was it.
Okay.
We'll see you on the 21st.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mark, for making this all happen again. So the last thing you will recall, at the last meeting where we spoke about workforce housing, Jim, a request was made that anyone who was interested in submitting, a request has come from the town board that they want to hear comments from the planning board. And so Jim then said, all of you, any of you who have comments, please submit them, and he will try to pull them together in some fashion or format to be determined. So, and as you all know, because you received copies, has done some preliminary work here. We thank her for that. Tom weighed in, Denise weighed in. And the offer still is open for anybody else. The members of the town board have indicated to me that they want to hear the comments from the planning board at this time. And all we can do, with the understanding that, as we have expressed to the applicant and to the town board, we are not yet in possession of what would be considered a complete application. There are pieces missing, landscape plans, other things that aren't there. But I would encourage you to begin to pull your comments together, and commenting on what's not there that you think should be there should be part of the process as well. So I know that the applicant and the town board attorney has reached out to John and Kim, and we're in discussion with how we best navigate our way through this. And we're at a standstill now because it is really up to the applicant who asked us to suspend the public hearing until a future date and time. But the request is on the table from the town board to provide them with comments that will inform their development of the local law. So does that cover it? Chip?
Yeah, and just so you know, I made a number of comments in my memo. I do plan on including those. I would list those as comments coming from me as the town planning consultant. And the town board does know, I think I've said every one of these, but the town attorney, the town engineer for this project is Lawrence Pagey Engineering, because CPL is conflicted out because they're doing the work for the applicant. So Pagey has 4 pages of comments as well in terms of technical engineering issues that need to be addressed. So I think it's good just to attach that as well. But you should probably take a look at it. I can email it out to everybody
That
tomorrow.
would be good.
Just so you have it at the top of the file.
Let's see what he has, and then we don't have to.
But you don't have to, you don't have to regurgitate anything I've done or that Pagey has done. So it might save a little bit of writing or spark some thoughts in your head. So I'll take what Ed has provided, what I've written up, what Pagey has as an attachment, and whatever else I have received. And this other question would be by Lindsay.
See, I see 2 separate issues. One is a process question, which is what my comments were directed at, right? What's the proper way for the planning board to proceed? A second issue is, what do we as a board think should be changed and could be changed about the plan to make it a better plan and to bring it into more compliance with zoning law? And for the second, from my point of view, we have not yet had a full comprehensive presentation from Kearney about what the plans are. I mean, you can look at the site plan, but I have a lot of questions, and I'd like to hear from them, how they're gonna do things and what all those lines mean and so forth.
That is a dilemma.
Even the tie-in to, I think, the rest of the village.
I can't hear you.
The tie-in to the rest of the village is still a question. Right, and like we talked about sidewalks, we talked about, and Jim, I'm assuming those are in your notes, the sidewalks and like that we talked about potentially having sidewalks going down the main drive, because people are going to walk down that main road regardless. Are those currently in notes?
Those weren't my initial notes, but those are certainly comments that the board had made. Those are the things that we
I have a question. You brought up earlier that they might make it a city-town road. Then is there something in there that states you have to have
Well, that's an open question at this
sidewalks and
point.
stuff?
We brought up, as you recall, the question, both when we were in the field and at our meeting when they were here, we brought up the issue of school buses, which led to sidewalks, which led to shelters, and it became a topic of great interest and one of great importance, I think. And at the town board meeting last night, and my Panda man here can confirm, the supervisor indicated in the meeting last night that based on that issue being raised, the town board was now looking at making that a town road. We do not know, we don't know, should that occur, what changes would need to be made to the application in order to respond to the fact that this is now a town road with different standards than would be part of their their private condominium development. I don't know what it means, and it was a clarification of, was it an emergency exit to Astor Drive? Was it a one-way exit? How might that be impacted if a town road went in there? I don't know what the standards are. I'm including it because Elizabeth, the supervisor, responded to some questions from the public last night by indicating that that's what the town was looking at. So it's a matter of public record.
Yeah, well, and that only addresses one facet of that particular issue, which is, how do kids get on the school bus?
Correct.
By making it a town road, you have the school buses go through there, okay, that's great, but the workforce housing part of the chapter in the town code says that it would be connected to the walkways as if, the sidewalks are going to be connected, and I'm still not seeing it. So just, plopping these things after the fact is not really addressing all of it, the whole host of the issues. That's number one. Number two, they've completed seeker on this.
Correct.
If they are making significant changes to the plan, do they have to revisit seeker?
They could revisit seeker, depending, I think, on the extent of the changes.
Right.
But also, the seeker was also for the adoption of local law as opposed to site plan. So we'd have to see maybe how those changes affect the local law. We'd have to look into that.
So my only guidance to all of us is, I haven't categorized what kind of comments they want. They have, just get them out there.
Okay.
And that's the way that I see that now as the only way we can approach it. We've been asked to provide comments, you should provide them all. Anything that you have questions, well, not just comments on things you want to see change, but comments on things you're not clear on.
Yeah.
That you don't feel you have enough information.
And it's my feeling, by reading the LWRP, which this is in that zone, reading the town comprehensive plan and reading the town code, it describes a particular character that this type of development needs to have. And I'm not seeing it in the plans that have been presented. And, you could go on and on and on about the ways that it falls short, but I'm trying to limit myself to the ones that are the most specific and were most clearly delineated in the town code. And John Clark was here at the last meeting, and he said, well, look at the village comprehensive plan, it's all in there. And there are some pretty extensive treatment of that prospect of having the development in that lot. But it involves transversing through adjacent properties. And when I asked Andy Learn in the field whether they were pursuing any easements or any agreements with neighboring properties, he looked at me like I was, like, well, why would we want to do that? So, there are a lot of open seams here that I think need to be closed before we can really give it an intelligible treatment.
I agree, and I think it's just really important to be like overly constructive in our feedback so that, to the point that they can make those changes so we can see them on a final plan. And whether that be wherever that site is. I'll leave it open to that, but I think it's, like, we all see that we need it, and I think I think we have an opportunity to make it what it should be.
Yeah.
Right, and so it's how we deliver those comments and how we give that feedback that I think is really important. I think Edna, you put together a really great document, so I just want to say thank you. Because you give us a great opportunity. I think any of us that have maybe 60-hour days, I'll say it like that, but it was really nice to be able to read that. And very helpful, so thank you.
The original plan, the original entry had a road going up closer to the village, right? And I do not believe, looking at the trail that they now have essentially using that road, that you have to destroy the hillside in order to go up that way. So I wondered, what if the driveway from Rhinecliff Road started where they currently plan to start, and then turned and went to the old road up? And I just drove over there the other day. You could do it. You would have to dig into a cliff that's close to the Rhinecliff Road, but that's all you'd have to do. You wouldn't have to deforest, take down all those trees to get up the way they're now planning to go up. If they could make that change and go up that way, that would change an incredible amount of how this thing would look from Rhinecliff Road.
Well, and I think, in many forms, the comment has come forward. I mean, that's very specific, but others are, what's it going to look like from the road? And so, I mean, what we've identified there just in that small conversation is, there's great concern about how it's going to appear from Rhinecliff Road. And what modifications can they make to improve upon the view shed and the aesthetics that lead to the reduction in the number of trees in that. Those are the kinds of, I think, major points that we can be looking at.
But this is not Wappingers, this is not these bigger cities, this is Rhinebeck, and how we keep it clean, beautiful, and also productive for what we're trying to create, so.
Right. The deputy mayor stopped by my house a couple of days ago getting signatures on petitions, and had a brief conversation with him, and he said, oh, well, we were talking about the tree clearing, and he said, oh, well, it's all just like brush and small trees, right? Because that was his takeaway from that, is that this is really not a significant ecological feature of the town. And beg to differ. And I read the environmental treatment of this, whoever the consultant was that they had hired, but it's worded in such a way that, oh, if you look at the 1930s aerials, the canopy looks pretty sparse. So, you know, extrapolating from that, it's not a 100-year-old forest, but if you look at the inventory, there are trees there that are, you know, that are like 3 feet in diameter. You don't get a 3-foot diameter tree to cut down unless it's a mature section of forest.
Okay, well, got me point.
But are we still, you know, all feeding comments into Jim, and then Jim's gonna say, these are the comments that have come up? In other words, is this board gonna have any consensus on anything?
Well, I'm not sending it out without you reviewing
We
it.
will
It's the same
review
way, same way we did the last referral on this. You send me all the comments, I'm gonna try and maybe group them together by topic area, or at least make them somewhat common language, whatever I'm gonna do, and then I will bring it back to you to take a look at. I'm not sending it on without general consensus of the board.
Now, I would expect that if and when we ever get a presentation from Kearney, that we would then have a lot more comments on possible improvements. So I'm a little leery before we have that presentation of us sending comments to the town board, because
The way it's been explained to me, and others can correct me, I do not, it's my understanding that we will not see a presentation by Kearney, Locust Hill, prior to the time the town board lays down the local law. That's my understanding of the direction it's going in now.
but why? Why couldn't we just have a workshop with them?
We can request a workshop.
Well, it's on the table 2 meetings ago.
It was on the table, and I believe that if that offer was expressed in writing from the town board attorney, and, you know, there's been no follow-up on those communications over the holidays. So we're reconvening.
We're going to be talking to them to try.
We're going to be reconvening with our council.
And Raplansky, right? I think he was.
Warren is the town board
Warren
attorney.
Yeah.
And we haven't, between, when I'm saying we, I mean Jim and myself and John and Kim haven't followed up with the letters that we received prior to the Christmas holiday.
Shame on you.
No, that's lack of due diligence, obviously, and I will attempt to
To
do
be
better.
fair, Warren was out of the state.
Pardon?
Warren was out of the state on the holidays too. Not
Oh, that's
not that
right,
we
Warren
weren't
was
working on the
away,
holidays.
and anyway, we have a meeting scheduled for this
We're working
week,
on getting something.
and we'll be following up on those details that were offered in prior letters and communication, and see where we can go.
I have a question, maybe Kim can speak to this. This workforce housing, is it district or a zone? What?
It's treated as, I believe, it's like almost like a floating district.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's an
So,
overlay
yeah,
district?
It's not so much an overlay district, it's like a district in and of itself.
Okay, but
And that's
it
what the
needs,
local
what
law-
needs to happen is that needs to be applied
Correct.
to
Has to
this,
be laid down.
this zone.
Yes.
And it will no longer be the Village Gate District, it will be the workforce housing district.
Yeah, but it turns out it ends up being just that one property gets the workforce housing. Now, the regulations that govern that workforce housing district, are those the ones that are written in the town code, or are changes being made?
Those are going to be, I think, that's one of the discussions, is that that's going to be in the local law.
That's going to be the local law.
Embedded in the local law.
Okay, but it's going to be what I can read now in the workforce housing chapter?
I don't think so, no.
No.
You have the basis of, I like it better, but you have the basis of the workforce housing law right now.
Okay.
Where we go from here is what the town board is discussing.
Is there any kind of draft or anything like that that we can look at?
There's a draft, but it's not ready yet.
Okay.
Will it be public?
At some point, it will be, it's still being worked on.
I would propose that with until we put, maybe we still give everything to Jim and he summarizes it, but I think we should still push for that workshop prior to any of that being done. Any laws or anything being done, I think we should have input as soon as possible with them, and then we have the after effects. I mean, like, there's no, for us to wait until the law's done is.
Yeah, the way I'm looking at it is, first they're gonna put together a piece of legislation that will make that parcel the workforce housing
Yeah.
district. But then my thought is, there will need additional legislation to waive all kinds of zoning requirements that this development will not meet.
They'll embed it all into the
It
local
will
law.
all be
which is why we
embedded in the
wanna have
local
input.
law that lays down the zone. It
Well,
will
in
not
that
be two
case-
separate.
In that case, we don't, oh, it'll all be embedded. Okay, well then it's just gonna be some broad statement about,
Right, with the weird
you know, this
interpretation.
waives any zoning requirement not met by this
Yeah.
It's
workforce
almost like, how do
housing
you
district.
comment on certain things where you don't even know what
Yeah, no, that's
the
what-
limitations are gonna
we-
be?
Well, that's what the hopefully,
Let's get in
with
front of it.
that
Let's
meeting
get in front
with
of
the town board and the planning board.
That's what we're trying to do.
Right,
And what I'm
Yeah.
wondering,
Trying to
if you'd
get
like to,
some schedule going on.
Yeah, if we can get in front of it with our comments, I think that's the first step, and unfortunately, workshop probably outside of these hours.
well,
It would be really great if there could at least be some design input, not waived out of the project, because there are some integrity elements about the town that I don't think it's too much to ask that that's considered in this development.
that sort, let me just say, I'm interpreting the request from the town to submit comments to them as broadly as I can interpret it. So a comment like that is, in my opinion, warranted. If you want to say you don't want to see design standards waived, then say you don't want to see design standards waived. That's comment. It doesn't have to be specific to, you know, the width of a path. It can be very general in
Yeah.
terms of the way you want to approach it. And if your comments are, you would by consensus like to be able to see and engage in a conversation, you should make that comment. I mean, I just think right now, the opportunity that's been presented to us is that. There's still a lot of questions that haven't been answered in terms of how the process is going to go forward. And at some point, really, it's going to end up being conversations, quite honestly, between Kim and John and Warren and the town board to see where the next steps are.
I think we run the danger of, if we're too specific, our work is going to be dismissed as being irrelevant, which comment has already been forwarded, and nitpicky and obstructionist. And I think what you offer is very important, that, you know, there's a look and feel to this place that's really important to this town, and we shouldn't have to panic and plop down a generic, you know, housing barracks because we need it right now. Because, you know, we've got Village Green. You know, that was workforce housing years ago, and now it's, you know, $2,500 for a two-bedroom apartment that nobody can afford. The Woods was constructed to allow people who had been coming up here and buying modest houses for, you know, weekend use. This gave them the opportunity to, you know, that's what that development was all about. The gardens, you know, we keep making these attempts to solve this problem that I don't think we're going to build our way out of it. And it's important that we take the right steps. And yeah, so I agree. You know, I'll write that.
And I divulge, like, back to constructive, it's like, there should be walking access from all points of the property on a safe walking path. Constructive, very easy to implement into a project.
Right.
Right, not, there isn't, because that's whining.
Good point.
Just one more question for him. That the legislation that they are working on, the previous seeker process, does it apply to the legislation they're working on?
Yes.
But they don't have the legislation done yet. How can you have a
Well,
seeker?
because when they're doing secret for a local law, because it's kind of like, it's not different standards, but they address the questions in a different manner. You know, it's kind of addressed in a more broad sense, so that's likely how they got to the seeker. If that makes sense. It's just, when you're doing like a local law, there's ones that you kind of bypass when you're considering it because it's not a particular project for local law.
Well, this would be legislation, I assume, that would waive many requirements of the zoning law that would apply to any other application.
Well, they applied to that zone.
Yeah, I have to look, they did the seeker, I looked at it, I don't quite recall everything that was discussed, but it was done.
This project is a one-off. This is not a project that will impact other zones or anything else. It's very specific to workforce housing zone, and the zone is being created. So I'd almost consider this like a zoning referral that we would get from the town board, but with a whole lot more detail, because we actually have a concept plan that goes with it to show you what the town board feels like it should be, I guess. I don't know if I explained it really well, but yeah, I don't know if that helps.
With this conversation, when is the deadline on your plate?
Well, I don't know if you have a deadline. I haven't heard of a specific deadline. I do want to talk about, the
We should
deadline,
set
just to
one
get
on.
I think
comments back.
the first step is to try to get that scheduled meeting with the town board and the planning board. That's gonna be the first step. Second step in the meantime is continue to get your comments ready to Jim. But I think that we gotta we have to get on board with the town board to figure out what the
Yeah.
process is.
I
That's gonna be the.
would be surprised if we could schedule a meeting before the end of this month. Just because I don't think that would happen that quickly.
So if we say in the next 2 weeks,
I would
as a group,
say-
let's continue to move forward and
Right.
send additional comments, not 27 emails, because Jim loves that.
That's fine.
But yeah, but summarize your comments and send them to Jim, and
I actually think there's some benefit for everyone to give me comments initially, and even if I just give you back a really rough draft so you can see what everyone's thinking before we go into a workshop. So if you've got all the thoughts from everyone, then if we come out of the workshop with more, we can certainly go and revise, update, change that memo.
we're looking at the 21st, right?
Well, whatever you want to
Which is
do.
2 weeks from now.
You were indicating that you were going to send out your
2
comments,
weeks. 2 weeks.
and you were going to send out the comments from the town, from Mr. Hadji. So why don't we expedite that, if it's not a burden for you?
I'll do it tomorrow.
And then what we can all do is go through those. And I would also, I don't want to say prioritize them, but as you're looking at them, try to identify for us the ones that you think have the most weight and are the highest priority in terms of big, broad issues like you're saying, walkability. That's what I'm thinking, those sorts of thematic, if you will, that we can say, please focus on this and please make this better. And here's some suggestions for that.
Bike trails.
Whatever, ski trails, however you want to see it.
Of course.
All right, with that being said, is there any additional business to come before the board? If not, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So we'll.
Thank you, second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries.